I've been building my own kingdom for everyone to see. It exists to keep me safe from harm, and it's intact to glorify me. Nobody helped me build this up. It was me and me alone. I've appointed myself as the king, and I've given myself the throne. But it turns out I'm no ruler, and I have no control. So I have decided to destroy it all. I'm tearing down the walls, kicking down the doors. Everything inside this kingdom is yours. 'Cause what I've made is worthless, and it cannot stand. Come and breathe some life into my empty, cold, dead hands. Down with the fickle king, away with this fantasy. You are the one I need. Death to the kingdom of me. Death to the kingdom of me. I should probably be frightened. This empire's all I know, but it always does more damage than good. I'm afraid it's gotta go. I know that I can't be trusted, 'cause I'm just a man. And if you hadn't given your life for me, a loser would be all that I am. You know they say just follow your heart. I'm afraid that's a load of trash. Your heart will take you down to deep, dark places where you feel like you'll never come back. So I'm coming out of the dark. This facade is I woke up feeling like it was time to tighten up. Yeah, I woke up feeling like it might be a good day to get it done. That's right. Oh, the stadium is just like my second house. Now I'm two-tone talking, they can't shut my mouth. I woke up feeling like it was time to tighten up. Yeah, 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 yeah. I woke up feeling like it was time to tighten up.
Yes, indeed. It is the Two-Tone Talk by God Pod, episode 142. 142. I am your host, Brad Steele, here to talk to you about the Tennessee Titans. With a new GM, is there a potential new day dawning for the Tennessee Titans? I sure hope so. We'll talk about that a little bit. And also the NFL playoffs. The divisional round has concluded. Down goes Derrick and the Baltimore Ravens. Also, the Rams go down. The Lions lose a heartbreaker. What a heartbreaking end to their season. And also, our good friends, the Houston Texans, go down to the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't know what in the world you're talking about. Why block comments? I have never blocked comments, and I have no clue what you are even referencing in the chat. Okay. Big day today. I didn't even know if I would do an episode because it is Inauguration Day in the U.S. We're inaugurating a new president. It's MLK Day. The time is always right to do what is right. But we are here live for Two Tone Talk podcast. And I want to get started talking a little bit about the NFL playoffs. I watched every snap of every game this weekend. And I'll start with last night. I love Derrick Henry. I mean, he is, I have said it before, my second favorite Tennessee Titan of all time. Literally. Love Derrick. There was a lot of debate among Titans fans. Is it okay to root for the Ravens because it's Derrick? I mean, come on. Is it okay to root for the Ravens, or is it wrong to root for the Ravens? I'm not going to judge anyone's fandom. I'm not going to tell you what to do or who to root for, because ultimately, at the end of the day, whatever. But I could tell you, for me, I was not rooting for the Ravens. All right. I love Derrick. I love King Henry. I am not about to sit here and root for the Baltimore Ravens. I got too much Tennessee Titans in me. Okay. I remember back in the day. I remember the Ravens, one of the biggest rivals of the Tennessee Titans ever. And it ain't just about back then. It's about just a few years ago when they came to our stadium for a playoff game and stomped on our logo. All right. Stomped on our logo after the game and were flat out disrespectful, tried to fight us before a game in their stadium a few years ago. I ain't rooting for no Ravens. Okay. I was glad to see the Ravens lose, just like I was glad to see the Texans lose. There were some Titans fans wanting the Texans to beat the Chiefs. Listen, I can't stand the Chiefs. I don't want the Chiefs to win another Super Bowl. I get it's lame to root for the Chiefs, but like, bro, I was glad to see Houston go down. All right, I want nothing to do with the Texans being in the AFC Championship game. So I'm glad they're out. Okay. But the Ravens are out, and I'm glad about it. As much as I love Derrick, at the end of the day, don't look now, but the Titans actually got Derrick Henry closer to a Super Bowl than the Ravens have. I'm just telling you right now, the Titans got Derrick to the AFC Championship game. The Ravens only got him to the divisional round. I'm just saying. But once again, seeing Derrick Henry, who I think had around close to 100 yards for the Ravens last night, Saquon Barkley, who was unbelievable for the Eagles, it's got people once again talking about, should the Titans or Giants have kept these guys? I bet they regret giving up Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley. And the fact of the matter is, yes, I miss Derrick. I wish Derrick would have been a Titan for life. But the fact of the matter is, I've said it till I can't say it anymore. Derrick Henry was never going to get the Titans to the playoffs this year. The Titans would have maybe won 2 more games with Derrick Henry. And the Giants with Saquon, it would have been the same thing. Like, I get these guys are otherworldly. These guys are aliens. And I see your super chat, Brock P. fan. I'm about to get to it. But these guys are aliens, Saquon and Derrick Henry are. They are different breeds. They are 2 of the best I've ever seen at the running back position. But these guys are the type of guys you bring in to kind of be the cherry on top of what you already have. The Ravens already had Lamar. They already had a good defense. They already had a good offensive line. So then you bring in Derrick Henry to put the cherry on top. The Eagles already have A.J. Brown. They already have Devontae Smith. They already have a great offensive line. Now let's bring in Saquon Barkley to be the monstrous cherry on top. These running backs, as great as they are, they were not going to make a difference in Tennessee or New York. If they were, they would have done it last year. The Titans went 6-11 with Derrick Henry last season. He didn't make a difference then. What difference would he make now? Brock P. fan 13 in the super chat said, I think I am a curse. I wanted the Bucs to win the Super Bowl and they lose. Then I picked the Ravens to win the Super Bowl and they lose. Pick the Chiefs this week. Pick the Chiefs. Pick the Chiefs and the Eagles in these championship games. Amnesia in the Super Chat said, I'm sad we will not have a Henry versus Barkley game. That would have been great, but like I'm just going to tell you, if I had to sit there and watch the Ravens, I've got something in my eye. If I had to sit there and watch the Ravens against the Eagles in the Super Bowl, I would have just had to go drive my car off a cliff. Like, if I had to watch A.J. Brown versus Derrick Henry in the Super Bowl, I would have just died right then and there. Because you already know what the narrative would have been. Oh, the Titans had both of these guys. They gave them up. Oh, my gosh. But anyway, Ravens lose. And honestly, I think last night really didn't do anything to put an end to the MVP discussion about should it be Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson. Last night really didn't put an end to that debate, because what happened is Josh Allen didn't exactly do anything great. I didn't see Josh Allen just play one of those games where you're like, oh my gosh, he's unbelievable. But he didn't make any huge mistakes. So that's to his credit. But, Josh Allen played a pretty by-the-books, pretty standard game, but he won. And he avoided any huge mistakes, whereas Lamar had a couple of huge mistakes in the first half. Then he led a great game-winning drive to potentially tie, not game-winning, game-tying drive to potentially tie the game. And then his tight end dropped an easy two-point conversion that would have tied it. So I don't think last night really did anything to solve that MVP discussion. I still think that discussion is going to continue to rage on because Josh won. Josh avoided the huge mistakes, whereas Lamar didn't avoid the huge mistakes, but still made plays to win. And then he had his Mark Andrews fumbling and dropping passes. Just, it didn't really put an end to anything. But now we've got Chiefs versus Bills in the AFC Championship game. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? And by the way, I do find it funny that people are comparing Lamar Jackson to James Harden in the NBA. Like, James Harden is that dude who's fun to watch in the regular season, but he's never going to win the big one. People are saying Lamar Jackson is the James Harden of the NFL. That's something. But now it's Chiefs Bills. I'm getting kind of bored with Chiefs Bills, dude. I know everybody's always like, oh, Chiefs Bills, this is going to be great. I'm getting kind of bored with it, dude. I'm about sick of watching the Chiefs and the Bills. Especially if the Chiefs beat them again. Like, okay, I'm done. I'm done, dude. I'm done watching Chiefs Bills. I know they always have good games and whatever. I'm sick of it. Good Lord, the NFC at least has new teams every year. The AFC, every year, it's just the Bills and the Chiefs. Again, come on, man. But I want the Bills to win this one. I can only compare it for any wrestling fans here. This is Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns. It's time for the Bills to finish the dang story. All right, come on now. And my dog agrees if you hear it. Goodness gracious. Got my Titans coffee cup. We are going to talk about the Titans here shortly. Some other playoff stuff from this weekend that I noticed. And this is Titans related. If you don't want a quarterback, if you don't want the Titans to draft a quarterback, might I ask why? You watch what Jaden Daniels has done for the Washington Commanders. I mean, and I know that's a dramatic example. I think Jaden Daniels may be the best rookie quarterback that I've ever seen. But we've seen C.J. Stroud in Houston and the quick turnaround there. We saw Bo Nix in Denver this year. Like, bro, how could you not want that? How could you not want? Because think about it, the Tennessee Titans have, like, since Steve, and I want to real quick read this by Luke Morgan in the Super Chat, who's apparently a Rams fan. Hey, remember the 2001-2002 Titans-Rams Super Bowl? Oh, boy, do I. It really sucks to lose, but I have a huge respect and love for Titans fans. Well, I appreciate you, Luke. I do remember that Super Bowl. It was actually a little earlier than what you're saying. It was 99 into 2000, but was a heartbreaker for my Titans. But the Titans have never, since Steve, just drafted a young quarterback and developed them and built them and then had him become a star. Vince Young, we blew it. Marcus Mariota, didn't work out. Jake Locker, disaster. Zach Mettenberger, disaster. Will Levis, sure looking like a disaster. Malik Willis, didn't work out. All of those quarterbacks we drafted, and we really, for the most part, I mean, we had some good times with Marcus and some good times with Vince Young, but for the most part, it just never worked out to be franchise guy for years and years to come. Titans haven't done it since Steve. We have not done it since Steve McNair. We have had a couple of seasons with bridge guys where we put good teams around them, like Kerry Collins, like Ryan Tannehill. Okay? But look at what that got you. It got you what it got the Detroit Lions this weekend. God bless Jared Goff. He had a great season. But all I could think as I watched Detroit melt down against Washington Saturday night, all I could think about was the Titans 3 years ago with Ryan Tannehill. Anybody else, any other Titans fans get PTSD as you sat there and watched what happened to the Lions on Saturday night, and all you could think was, oh, this is the Titans with Ryan Tannehill. That's what this is. This is a talented roster. This is a great roster with a great defense, even though they didn't look like it against Jaden Daniels. They've got all of the weapons, they've got all of the different things, but at the end of the day, is Jared Goff going to be able to get them over the hump the way that Jaden Daniels is getting Washington over the hump, the way that Mahomes and Allen and Lamar and even Stafford, the way that those guys got their teams over the hump? Do you trust Jared Goff when the playoffs roll around? The Minnesota Vikings this year, what about them? They also reminded me of the Ryan Tannehill Titans. At the end of the day, they won a lot of games. They were a great regular season team. But when it's all on the line in the playoffs, do you trust Sam Darnold? Do you trust Jared Goff? Do you trust, even to a degree, Baker? As much as I love Baker, like at the end of the day, is Baker going to lift you over Jaden Daniels in the playoffs? Is Baker going to lift you over that beastly Eagles team in the playoffs? All I could think as I watched Detroit the other night was, boy, I know how Lions fans are feeling tonight, because it is exactly how Titans fans felt years ago, 3 years ago, when the Titans were the number one seed and Tannehill just wet the bed in the playoffs. Man, it hurt. It hurt to watch because it just brought back all of those feelings. But then the Commanders, their young quarterback comes in, lifts them over the huge hump that was in front of them. I mean, they were horrible. Nobody cared about the Commanders, and people try and rewrite history and say, well, everybody knew Jaden Daniels was going to be great. Did they? Dan Orlovsky knew it, but did anybody else think the Commanders were going to do this? I don't even think the Commanders thought they were going to do this. But when you get the right guy, and yeah, this isn't an outlier. I understand. Not everybody drafts a guy and they come in and take you to the NFC or AFC championship game. But again, we've seen it with Stroud. We've seen it with Bo Nix. We've seen it with all sorts of young guys. I remember Andrew Luck with the Colts. I mean, he came in and they were just, there they went. If you get to April and you believe in Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders, I think you got to take them. You got to take them. If you believe, if you look at either one of those two guys and you believe, you can see it in their eyes or in their interview or in their tape or in their pro day or whatever, you believe, you got to do it. You got to do it because ultimately, look at the 4 teams that are left in the playoffs that are getting ready to play in the AFC and NFC title game. Josh Allen, that's a guy they drafted and molded. Patrick Mahomes, Chiefs drafted him, built him up. Eagles, even Jalen Hurts, who does not put up mind-blowing stats at all, it's a guy the Eagles drafted, and they built around him, and they lifted him up. The Commanders, Jaden Daniels, that's a guy they drafted, and very quickly, he's ascended. Yeah, sometimes you might get a fluky, Stafford with the Rams, and Stafford's great, I think. With Stafford with the Rams, sometimes you can just go out and get that free agent quarterback that's great who can come in, but more times than not, you're just going to have to draft a stud. You're going to have to draft a stud. And if the Titans feel like Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders are a stud come April, I think you have to do it. You have to do it. Eagles beat the Rams in the snow. Do you guys want A.J. Brown to win a Super Bowl? Do you guys feel the same way about A.J. that you do about Derrick? Are there people actually wanting the Eagles to win a Super Bowl so that A.J. Brown can get a ring? Because I'll just tell you right now, I don't want that at all. I don't like the Eagles at all. I don't like the Eagles at all. I ain't forgot some of that stuff A.J. Brown said about us. I know it was John Robinson's fault, but I ain't forgot some of that stuff AJ said about us. I don't want him winning no Super Bowl. I hope the Commanders destroy him. You want to talk about a former Titans player that I wouldn't mind seeing get a ring? Let me see Marcus Mariota, backup quarterback for the Washington Commanders. Let's see him get a ring. How about that? Marcus backing up Jaden Daniels in Washington. Get Marcus a ring. How about that? Goodness gracious. I don't want AJ to win a Super Bowl. I wanted to bring this up briefly as we talk about quarterbacks. Would you be interested in making a trade for Matthew Stafford to quarterback the Titans? Now, judging by what Matt Stafford said after the game, I think he might retire. I mean, he certainly said some things that led me to believe he might be getting ready to retire. But if he comes back and the Rams want to trade it, which if you're talking about going to a new team, I think he probably would retire. If he knew the Rams were probably just going to trade him, I think he would retire. But Stafford played well this year. Luke Morgan said, I really want the Titans to win a Super Bowl for once. Me and you both, buddy. Their fans really need something to be happy about, and same goes for Lions fans. Yeah, I mean, that's why it hurts to watch what happened to the Lions, because I thought this was going to be it for them. Just like 3 years ago, I thought that might have been it for the Titans, and look what happened. The pain of losing those type of games. Ugh. Awful. Now, how did the Titans get back to the playoffs? How do they get back to where they're in the discussion in the wild card round, the divisional round? How do we go from where we currently are, which is worst team in the league? How do we turn it around? Well, I've already mentioned the draft, but tell you who's going to have to be a part of it at this point, and that is Mike Borgonzi, the new general manager of the Tennessee Titans. I don't think I've done a podcast episode since he was hired. I've done some videos about it on the channel, but I have not done a podcast episode since Mike Borgonzi was hired as the new GM of the Titans. Listen, as I said before, I am not going to claim to be an expert on all things Borgonzi, okay? But the general consensus among everybody is that this is a great hire for the Tennessee Titans. You are seeing people in the NFL say, hey, Titans should have hired him 2 years ago when they hired Rand Carthon. This guy should have been hired a long time ago. How is this guy just now getting hired? The Titans made the right choice. I mean, a lot of people very high on the hire of Mike Borgonzi as the new GM for the Tennessee Titans. And that's great. People are very high on him, and that's awesome. It sure seems like a great hire for the Titans. As I said in a video last week, I do not think this automatically makes up for the dysfunction and the chaos that led to it with firing Vrabel to keep Rand and then firing Rand. I mean, all of that is still dysfunctional and chaotic, but we have Borgonzi now. Great. But as I said, I am approaching this with cautious optimism. I thought Rand Carthon was a great hire 2 years ago, and I was apparently wrong. I think that this could be a great thing for the Titans. I think Borgonzi can help get this ship on the right track. But I am approaching it with cautious optimism. I'm not just going to declare that everything's fixed, because it's far from fixed. Hopefully Borgonzi and Brinker and all of them can start getting this thing on the right track. And the report that came out today said that Mike Borgonzi, after all of this, will have full roster control. Mike Borgonzi is going to be the one making the decisions about the draft and free agency and trades and all of that, according to the report that came out this morning. Okay, now let him do it. Let him do what he's going to do, and let's see if he can fix all of the brokenness. But either way, the Titans have to stick with Mike Borgonzi for a while. We cannot do this thing where you keep him for 2 years and then fire him. You got to have a vision and try to see it through longer than just a year, right? And the hard part of that is Brian Callahan. Brian Callahan is the big question mark here, because he did not do a good job in his first year as head coach. Can he do better next year? I hope so, because it is not in the Titans' best interest at all to draft Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders, have them learn Callahan's offense, and then fire Callahan at the end of next season. That would be a disaster. That is not how you end up with Jaden Daniels, CJ Stroud, Lamar Jackson, whoever, Josh Allen. You don't get excited. Peyton Manning said it himself. You're doing a disservice to these young guys by making them learn new offenses every couple of years. That's part of what ruined Marcus. That's part of what has ruined Will Levis. Not the only thing, but it's one of the things that it ruins those young quarterbacks. It makes me worry for Caleb Williams in Chicago. I do not want to draft Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders and then fire Brian Callahan and have to have these guys learn a new offense going into their second year in the league. I don't want that. You don't want that either. That's why I said, if you're going to fire Rand Carthon, just fire everybody and let's start over. But instead, we fired one and kept one. Okay, but you better hope Brian Callahan proves to be a good coach in year 2. You better hope. Because if he's not a good coach and you got to fire him, then next offseason we're right back here again. So Brian Callahan needs to be better. And he's a huge question mark. I don't know. If he coaches like he did in year 1, he's going to get fired. If he coaches like he did in year 1, a lot of people are going to get fired. Okay? But after watching Jaden Daniels and watching what's happened for Houston with Stroud and everything, man, it's hard not to just want to draft Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders and hope that we can duplicate that. I mean, because that's the way. More times than not, that's the way to elevate the organization, is to draft a guy like that and let's go to the stars. Like I said, Titans have tried multiple times to do it with a bridge guy. Didn't work. So, and more times than not, the bridge thing doesn't work. Ethan says, why wasn't Rand given full roster control? I don't know if he was or if he wasn't. That's where all the dysfunction and confusion comes in. I don't know. I don't know. There's a thought process that says Rand wasn't doing a good job, but if he wasn't doing a good job, why'd we give him an extension? None of that makes sense. Young Gun says, I don't see a reason for being excited for a new general manager when they've already said he's just going to be a left-hand man to Chad Brinker. Well, they retracted that. And keep in mind, the Titans never said that the new GM is going to be a right-hand man to Chad Brinker. That was media people. But the idea is that, no, Mike Borgonzi's the GM. He's going to have roster control, and Chad Brinker's just there to help out. Focus says the old narrative was that the GM would have no power. The new narrative is he's got lots of power. When do we quit listening to the media? Well, listen, I mean, I don't know. That's maybe that's a part of the dysfunction and chaos and confusion. Maybe the media, the local Nashville media, whatever, maybe in a lot of people's mind, those people are contributing to the chaos because they're throwing out theories about stuff that isn't exactly true. Because as Focus said, the initial narrative that came out after Rand got fired was that Chad Brinker's been calling the shots all along. Chad Brinker's been viewed as the actual GM. Chad Brinker's going to make all of the decisions going forward, which led all of us to say, why are we even getting a new GM? Well, now that they hire, here's the thing. Hiring Mike Borgonzi as the GM tells me two things. Number one, it tells me that they are hiring this guy to be a traditional GM of an organization. There's no way you hire a guy like Mike Borgonzi to come in and be a sidekick. No, they're hiring Mike Borgonzi to come in and be the general manager and make the decisions on the roster and all the other things. You don't hire a guy like if you were just going to hire a sidekick, you would have hired a much different type of person. But the fact that you go out and hire this guy, who in many people's mind is the top candidate to be a GM, I don't think you do that unless you plan on giving him full control of the roster. The second, and also, I don't think Mike Borgonzi would take the job. More than anything, I don't even think Mike Borgonzi would have come back for a second interview with the Titans unless he felt like he was going into a situation where he was going to have the freedom to do what he wanted to do. I don't think Borgonzi would have taken the job. You know? And the second thing it tells me is that the Titans, the chances are greater that they're going to draft a quarterback, because if they had hired John Eric Sullivan, I think the chances would have been better that they would draft or trade back, draft Abdul Carter, draft Travis Hunter. But the fact that you go get Mike Borgonzi, that gives me a little more belief that we're going to draft a quarterback. Rand kept J-Rob's group, which I never understood. This is a comment for those listening. Rand kept J-Rob's group, which I never understood. Is Borgonzi going to clean house in scouting? Does he have a waiting period to do so? He sure said he's going to clean house in scouting. I mean, that's certainly what they said. And I also, I don't know if this was a Rand Carthon issue or a Titans issue, but Rand really, and maybe this echoes the sentiment of what Mike Vrabel said initially, which was that Rand is not ready to be a GM. I mean, Rand didn't exactly come in and take over. He didn't exactly come in and take charge. He came in and was kind of like, okay, well, I'm just going to do what I'm told, and I'm going to, try and fit into the system here. Whereas what needs to happen is the system needs to fit to the GM. Like, we don't need a GM who's going to come in and just be like, okay, whatever you guys want. And if that's what Rand was doing, then yeah, but then why'd we give him an extension? Why'd we give him an extension and give full control to him? If that's what he was doing, I don't understand. I'll never understand that, I don't think. But either way, Mike Borgonzi is the new general manager of the Titans, and hopefully this thing's going to start to turn around, and hopefully he's going to help do it. A lot coming up in the offseason. Listen, we're going to be here. We're going to be I know everybody on these channels and podcasts like this, offseason can get a little tough, come up with ideas for content. Listen, we're going to be talking about the draft. We're going to be talking about Cam Ward. We're going to be talking about Shedeur Sanders, Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter. Eventually, we're going to get into second-round picks and later in the draft, free agency moves. It's going to be a very eventful offseason for the Tennessee Titans once again, so you need to be on Two-Tone Talk. To end today's episode, I will read Luke's question, which says, what are your thoughts on Mike Vrabel going to the New England Patriots as a former head coach with the Titans? I will echo what I said last week when that news broke. I think Vrabel will do a fine job there. I think the Patriots will be a little better than they've been. That being said, I don't think this is going to be the match made in heaven that everybody thinks it is. I think Vrabel is a good coach. He's not a great coach. And so I think the Patriots' ceiling will be good, not great. And I'll be interested to see how Vrabel adapts to having a roster that's not already great before he got there like he did with the Titans. So there you go. This is the Two-Tone Talk by God pod. Staying way too high on the wins, way too low on the losses. Happy MLK Day, everybody. Have a good day, and I will see you later on this week. God bless you. Tighten up. Bye, everybody.